RChili is the trusted partner for pairing, matching, and data enrichment, helping companies hire better talent faster. RChili help recruiters connect candidates with jobs by enhancing the candidate experience, simplifying the hiring process, reducing hiring costs, and saving time and money. For more information, visit www.rchili.com.
What great ideas are so close within your grasp? Seeing other points of view, anticipating change, considering multiple possible turnouts, acknowledging uncertainty, searching for compromise. We're going to talk about how to get over those limiters of innovation so that you can extract better thinking from yourself and your team. So let's talk about how to win the future.
In this episode, we're joined once again by Rob Green, founder and CEO of RecTech, making him one of the rare few returning guests. We dig into the evolution of the industry, the global impact of AI, and how companies can make smarter tech choices faster. Whether you're in talent acquisition, HR, or recruitment, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. Welcome back, everybody, to the Marketing Rules podcast. And it's my pleasure to welcome Rob Green back. Rob, you're in a very privileged position. Okay, because this is your second time onto the Marketing Rules podcast. I think there's only a few other people who have ever kind of made it twice. I think that's Matt Older, who's been on kind of 3 or 4 times, and Matt Siegelman from kind of the Burning Glass Institute. So you're in good company. However, Rob, for those who didn't listen to kind of like our first podcast and not really sure what you and RecTech is all about, can you give us a little bit about your background and what you do now?
Absolutely. Well, firstly, thank you for having me back. It is an honour and a privilege to be back. And I was just saying before we started this recording that I really, really enjoyed the last show. And I can't remember how long ago it was, but it was a while back. So yeah, thanks for having me back. Really appreciate that. I'm Rob Green. I'm the founder and CEO of RecTech. If you don't know who RecTech are, we are now a multi-award-winning impartial service provider. Who are, our motto is changing technology buying forever. And we started in this wonderful recruitment industry and have diversified to include, talent acquisition and HR technologies, as well as a marketplace of complementary tech in this space as well. But our platform really provides organizations with the ability to be able to find the best technology solution for their business in minutes, using a game-changing procurement process, which allows you to essentially input your business requirements into our platform that analyzes those business requirements instantly and produces a short list of the best matching vendors. So the best way to describe it really, it's a comparison tool for recruitment and HR tech. It's like some people call it Tinder for applicant tracking system. Some people compare it more to Go Compare and Money Supermarket and the Meerkats, that sort of thing, but specifically for technology. For those organizations that really want to better understand the market and save time, save cost, and mitigate the risk of making a bad procurement decision, this is the platform for you.
Unless you've got an app where you can swipe left on, right? You're not Tinder yet.
We're working on it. And I should also add, this platform is, it works for everybody. It's not, we're based in the UK, but it does work for everybody. We've got customers in 29 countries and we've got over 700 clients so far. And they include some really prolific names, including the likes of Reed, Accenture, the NHS, Capital One, Sky, Arriva, some really big names in there as well. And we always get really good feedback. So very proud of where we got to.
And how many vendors are on the platform now?
We are now upwards of 120, and that number is growing.
Yeah.
As we enter new categories as well.
And does that tell us that, is that a lot or a little, right? Is this a particularly saturated market that we're kind of talking about now? I mean, I guess you haven't got everybody on there, but it sounds like a lot, right? That sounds like a lot to choose from.
It does actually. Being completely transparent, 120 vendors represents it's a small portion of the market. But the reason why, the market at the moment, let's go back kind of 10, 20 years. The recruitment technology landscape looked very, very different. Back then there were just a handful of vendors that dominated the landscape, offering solutions like applicant tracking systems, job boards, basic data analytics. But fast forward to today, and that landscape has shifted dramatically. There's thousands of vendors out there today, from startups to established tech giants, and they're all providing very niche solutions, whether that's CV parsing, video interviewing, diversity hiring, each of them promising to be the next game changer. So for recruiters and HR professionals in this industry, this abundance of choice can be, I guess, both a blessing and a curse. And on one hand, there's a tool for just about every aspect of the hiring process. And on the other, it's increasingly difficult to kind of sift through the noise and identify the solutions that will truly deliver the results that you need. So I think as companies continue to build out their tech stacks, they're often faced with that challenge of ensuring that these tools integrate smoothly, they provide the return on investment, and that they actually improve efficiency rather than adding layers of complexity. And it is incredibly saturated. There are thousands of vendors, as I said already, and it doesn't necessarily, if you think about the options that are available to somebody that is in this market for technology, the first thing people typically do is they ask the people around them what they're using. And that isn't a bad idea, to get a feel for what other people are using and get some feedback for kind of how those vendors are to work with and the kind of solution that they offer. But what I've learned over the nearly 20 years in my career is that every organization is different. We've all got different people, we've got different processes, we have different objectives, different pain points, different frustrations. So we all genuinely have a different set of requirements. And if you're looking at the recruitment industry, you might say, okay, well, if you're a 5 to 10 employee organization, okay, how different can it be? You're all recruiting people, you're taking people from one role, finding them another, and you're managing that kind of client candidate relationship. How different can it be? There's that question, but it is. You are working in different industries, different geographies, and there's a vast amount of difference, and especially when you move into the talent acquisition space as well, and you start thinking about the complexities of larger corporate organizations, or requirements across those organizations, they are vastly different. And also, all of these providers in this space also have their own set of features that are designed for a specific purpose. And whilst I guess the underlying I guess objective of those solutions is to solve a set of problems, they can become very niche in how those solutions are influenced.
And is this a thing that is just to the more mature markets like the UK and the US and parts of Europe, where it's completely saturated? Or is it that there are kind of, regional differences? You mentioned you've kind of got clients across the globe in 29 kind of countries. Is it still in some localities that maybe we think are really mature but aren't, where they've still got kind of some dominant kind of providers and dominant vendors?
Yeah, definitely. This is a global issue, no doubt about that. It's not just an issue that exists in the UK or the US. The great thing about this industry is that most providers in this space nowadays are kind of geared up to provide their solution globally. And that means wherever you are in the world, whatever platform it is you're looking for, whether that's an ATS, a CRM, a HRIS, you should be able to find a solution out there. Once you've managed to cut through the noise, you should be able to find a solution out there that can serve you in your local country. Our focus has always been on the UK. I'd say probably 90% of our business comes from the UK. And the UK is one of the leading industries in the recruitment tech space. I think a lot of the vendors that aren't in the UK or serving the UK market, they want to be serving the UK market. I think we're kind of seen as the forefront of innovation when it comes to things like applicant tracking systems and all of the complementary technologies that sit around the outside of a talent acquisition operation.
Yeah. So I'm also then thinking, right, where are these new kind of companies coming from? Are they starting up in the kind of more mature markets like us and the US, etc., or are they kind of coming from India and kind of Asia and other places, maybe kind of other parts of Europe, where as a tech provider, you might then kind of do some of your development? Is it now starting to come from those kind of those places, or is it being started here and kind of outsourced to there, or is it actually starting there now?
Yeah, it's a combination of those things. And when you ask yourself kind of why we're seeing more technologies coming from offshore, I think some of this stems back to our shift to remote working. When we started, everybody got forced to work from home, right, during the pandemic. I don't think I've been on the webinar, by the way, where the word pandemic hasn't featured. It was such a fundamental shift in the recruitment and HR tech industry, where people that typically work in an office together were then forced to work apart, and not just the tech industry but recruitment as well, where we've kind of been forced to interview people through Zoom and Teams and other video interviewing technologies as well. But there also came an opportunity there when we started to recruit from remote locations, that the boundaries kind of dropped. You didn't necessarily have to recruit within a 20, 30-mile radius of your office anymore, because you're not relying on people coming into a specific location. And I think what that did, that broke down a lot of kind of recruitment geographical barriers that existed before. And instead of hiring somebody that could get to a particular office location, you're thinking, well, if they're not going to get to the office location, then why aren't we looking in the US? Why aren't we looking in India and the Philippines, where actually maybe development resources might be much, much cheaper? So we've seen a lot of that happen. We've seen a lot of technology providers in this industry that don't necessarily have their development team onshore. It's cheaper and often more efficient. You can get more resources for a lower cost by offshoring. So there is a lot of that. That's one of the many reasons. But even organizations that have previously had their development resources onshore here in the UK are seeing that as a viable option to cut costs.
Yeah. And I guess, the pandemic and these other kind of new ways of working and new ways of developing has probably evolved the tech market, has moved it forward. Has that been really fast? Is it been kind of, since the pandemic, is that the thing that's kind of really sped it up? Is it now slowing down? What is that kind of evolution of the tech market looking like?
The technology market itself at the moment, I'd say, is moving at a breakneck pace. I think the recruitment industry is no longer just about matching candidates with jobs. It's now driven by data analytics, automation, process optimization, and we're seeing the rise of platforms that provide end-to-end solutions, from sourcing and screening to onboarding and employee engagement. And moreover, I think user experience has become a real priority. Candidates expect a seamless, consumer-grade interaction when they apply for jobs. And I think recruiters also want to use tools that are faster, more intuitive and more effective to help them get the best out of their role as well. And vendors in this space, I think, are constantly iterating, pushing the boundaries of what recruitment technology can do. And that's led to, I guess, the advent of platforms that harness things like predictive analytics, real-time market intelligence and performance insights. It's allowing hiring teams to make a lot more informed decisions, to reduce time to hire, to deliver a more personalized candidate experience. And we're also seeing more tools that are aimed at improving diversity and inclusion through data-driven decision-making, which is mitigating bias and fostering equitable hiring practices.
And so what are the factors that are driving this kind of rapid evolution then? Because you mentioned a few of them there, things like trying to kind of, get on top of ED&I that businesses are still struggling with. You mentioned kind of candidate engagement, and I guess that maybe that is a younger demographic or a much more kind of technology savvy demographic who are used to using Amazon and having that kind of level of interaction. Is that where, or is it the end user, the recruiters who are saying, I want more of this stuff? I think I know the answer, but go on. You tell me.
I definitely think it's a combination of those things, amongst other things as well. But I think the and I know you've because I follow your podcast and I've obviously been listening to the recent ones as well. But AI has come up time and time again. There's not only a generational thing there where people are becoming perhaps more tech savvy and their expectations are shifting. And then you've got recruiters who perhaps are becoming a little bit more tuned into the technology market and what technology can do for them. So their expectations are also increasing as well. They want more out of their time. Their employers want more out of their time. But I think perhaps the most transformative force that's reshaping the recruitment technology industry today is AI. I'd say in just a few short years, AI has gone from a buzzword to a tangible driver of innovation. It's doing everything from automating routine tasks like CV screening and interview scheduling to providing much deeper insights into candidate behavior, market trends. And with things like natural language processing, we can now analyze job descriptions. We can identify gaps. We can suggest optimization for attracting better candidates. And, on the flip side, it can read CVs, it can identify top candidates, it can predict their future performance in the role, all before a recruiter even picks up the phone. And it doesn't stop there. There's AI-powered chatbots that are transforming candidate engagement, providing real-time answers to applicant questions, guiding candidates through the hiring process with much more personalization than was previously even imaginable. So it's creating, I guess, efficiencies that are freeing up HR teams to focus on the human aspect of hiring, the strategic decisions, the relationship building, and culture fit and assessments that can't be automated.
And I ask this question, I think, a lot when I'm talking about kind of AI, and it would be good to get your kind of perspective on it. Is there any wariness around AI? For instance, on RecTech, is there a checkbox saying, I don't want AI in my product kind of scenario? Have you ever kind of come up against that?
No, I mean it's definitely. Sorry, that sounded really blunt there. It's that checkbox doesn't exist. Is it something we thought about? Absolutely. Is there a wariness? Initially, yes, but I think we've definitely seen that wave shift. I think when and this isn't just AI, this is anything. When a fundamental change happens within an industry, there's kind of, I think, a few different periods that you go through. The first one is like, what the hell is this? You educate yourself. So let's take AI as that example. When AI first comes along, people don't really. Firstly, they don't know what they don't know, and also they don't like what they don't understand. So there's initially kind of, I guess, a bit of resistance to what could be and has been a fundamental change in the way that we do our day-to-day jobs. There are people literally in HR teams that see something like AI come into the industry and might immediately fear for their job. If their job is very admin-based and then you introduce a technology that actually allows you to automate most of that, then there's an instinct inside you that basically says, how's this going to impact me personally? Am I going to be made redundant? Are they going to replace me with some tool that could automate everything that I'm doing? There's that element. And then there's the realization, once you see what this technology can actually mean for you in your role, it actually allows you to free up your time, not to be made redundant, but actually to be better at what you're doing, freeing up those admin tasks and the time it takes to do some of those tasks, which are, for some people, repetitive, a bit mundane, freeing up your time to actually focus on developing those other skills that maybe you haven't had, or allowing you to even progress your career further, to focus time on doing other things that maybe are a little bit more challenging. People start to see, I think, the positives in introducing this kind of technology. And I think we're past that now. I think we're at the stage now where people don't fear AI anymore. I feel like the industry has embraced AI, and it's got to the point where actually we're now excited about what else it can offer. And I know I listed out a few things earlier in terms of like what AI can do, but I feel like although that, and I said earlier that we're working at the industry is evolving at breakneck pace. It is, but there is going to get to a point where you start to push those boundaries where, you've looked at every sort of use case for AI in recruitment and HR and talent acquisition. You're going to start to hit the boundaries. Things are going to start to slow down. And I think we're kind of just about approaching that. We're starting to see the limitations of AI. And one thing it isn't doing, and despite, there are some companies out there, and there's one that's sticking in my mind that is literally trying to replace recruitment with AI. But we're never going to change the fact, in my opinion, that people buy from people. And things like HR, I mean, human, right? the H is human.
Yeah.
I don't think you're ever going to want to take human out of human resources. I don't think recruitment agencies are ever going to exist on autopilot. I think you're always going to need somebody on the end of a phone. I think you're always going to need a real person to be able to facilitate, a transaction, whether that's hiring somebody into a business or recruiting somebody on behalf of a client. You're always going to need a human in there. It might just be that maybe in the future we need less because we're able to do more through the use of technology and AI.
Yeah. And with all the tools that you're aware of and that are on the platform, you must now be seeing kind of products that are being built with kind of AI first, basically, as opposed to a lot of the products that are bolting on bits of AI into it or buying third-party bits of kind of AI tool and kind of shoving them in. So without kind of going into too many, without going to name names or details, but that AI first bit must be the really bit interesting kind of piece that's coming now, right?
There's definitely a number of technology solution providers that are actually coming into the market as a direct result of AI. The creation of AI has kind of exploded, not only what technology can do, but also how technology itself is developed. AI is supporting developers and developing technology. It's a really weird thing. Mm-hmm. We use it internally when we're writing code within our platform. It understands all of the code that we've written before and will make suggestions as to what it thinks we're trying to write. And it saves an enormous amount of time. So technology itself has become easier to develop. It's become faster to develop. And even, using a tool like this, you're taking out the potential for, and I don't know how much you know about coding. I'm not a developer.
Not masses, if I'll be honest. Yeah.
It's very easy to drop in, a wrong character somewhere and break something and end up spending quite a long time going through it trying to identify a rogue character. It's easy to do, especially at the speed that developers can code. These kind of tools are also removing that kind of stuff from happening. So it allows things to be done way faster. And that really allows, when you think about adding something like that kind of technology into a developer's tool stack, that's then allowing you to just develop much faster. So ideas are coming to life much quicker. People don't necessarily need to spend years and years developing a product. And also, I think gone are the days where we're relying on the giants of the industry. You're getting new players coming into the industry with niche products that people are happy to buy on a month-by-month basis with a lower risk. Mm-hmm. You can implement them faster. You can almost buy them off the shelf. Easy to set up. Monthly rolling contract. Those kind of things are becoming kind of commonplace now, and that puts a lot of pressure on some of the bigger players in the industry that perhaps don't have the ability to be as agile and maybe are sitting on technology that is 10, 20 years old, that you've now got a mammoth task to try and keep up to date and fresh with innovation.
They'd just buy them, wouldn't they? That's what.
That's happening a lot too. Maybe not one for this podcast, but there's a lot of that happening too.
Yeah,
a lot of people coming up with great ideas, creating wonderful products, getting some initial strong traction, and then just getting bought.
Well, that'll be round 3. That'll be podcast number 3. That'll be the trilogy. Is RecTech acquisition. We'll cover that one. Rob, it's been a pleasure talking to you today, as always. Thank you very much. As with all of our guests, we'll include all of your details on the show notes. If anybody wants to know more about RecTech or yourself, they'll be included there. You can also find Rob on LinkedIn. He's pretty much everywhere, or look for RecTech. But Rob, thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed being here, and thanks again. Look forward to round 3.
Thanks for listening. And don't forget, you can subscribe to the Marketing Rules podcast on Apple, Spotify, and all other major podcasting platforms. I've been your host, James Whitelock, and I hope you can join me and more amazing guests next time.